Welcome to the Airflow Podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Thomas, and this is the place where Kingdom heirs go to be informed and inspired. So sit back, relax, and flow with me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Airflow Podcast. I am so excited to be back on air with you guys. I hope everybody's doing well as we continue to finish out this year. It's crazy to say that it is already almost 2023. 2022 from the calendar year perspective is almost over, and it seems like this year has been interesting in a lot of ways, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But again, excited to be back. I do want to share a couple of things before we get into this week's episode. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and I kind of mentioned it before, and I've been talking about it on social media, but my wife KK and I are kicking off our Marriage Transparency Diary podcast. And it's going to be her and I together tag teaming. It'll be episodes where we talk about marriage, relationships, family. Really the focus is there for both of us. We'll have special guests and different things like that. But I'm really excited because we've had the website, or I'm sorry, not the website. We had the Facebook page since 2014. And it's just always been on our mind to take it to the next level. So, we've had it out there 8 years ago. It was something that KK actually wanted to do, and it was her vision, and we've kind of taken it from there and really trying to take it to the next level now. So we're really going to be pushing that. Airflow will still continue to go out there. Definitely, it's a different platform, but I will still be doing those episodes. But, we really wanted to do this together, and I think it's going to be fun because we both have a passion not only to build healthy marriages, but really just strong families and dealing with things that, not just married couple, but if you're widowed, if you're dating, if you, single and thinking about, what does it take to be married, or just hearing some of the real things that real couples go through and not really sugar-coated. That's what we're about. We have fun. But it's really an opportunity for us to really share. And it's also, I got to tell you how this podcast is therapeutic for me. It's therapeutic for our marriage because, we have even more conversation than what we have normally with just me and her, no microphones in front of us. But it makes us really think about things a lot more. So, I'm definitely excited about that. I'm definitely excited about just where we're going with all those things. So, stay on the lookout for that. Look us up on Facebook. It's the Marriage Transparency Diary. And we've been out there, so come check us out. We'll definitely be excited to see you. But getting on with this week's episode, I am extremely excited to really talk about this because I think, we go through, we've gone through some crazy times over the past couple of years. 2020 was, the pandemic. 21 was kind of, we had the election craziness with the pandemic still going on, and kind of aftermath. 2022 was sort of us going back to this period of, I would say normalcy, but things have changed so much. We've seen it in the workforce. We've seen it, just in relationships. We've seen it just in life in general. And I think it's really important for us to discuss those things. And that's one of the things that I want to focus on this year, is where we really start hammering on, when we get to the end of the year, you have the holiday season, and we've talked about that before in previous episodes with dealing with grief and, different things that come about from the holidays. But then there's also, resolutions and all these things that people say, okay, we're going to finish out this year, but 2023 or, the next year, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And my message today is, don't wait for the calendar year to flip. If you have things that you want to do and try to, and you want to accomplish, not try, but you want to accomplish, don't wait. That's one of the things that I found out for me. instead of trying to wait until there's a better opportunity, for most people, they're just like, I just want to get through the rest of this year. And then, next year I'll start new year, new me. And I used to subscribe to that. But I really don't anymore, because you don't have to wait. I think putting it off, as you can tell, you guys see, there's, when you start putting things off, you will find that a lot of things won't get done, because there's always going to be something else that comes up. When there's something in your mind fresh and like, I need to get going with this, then, you need to get going with it, because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something new that pops up. That's just how things work. And you get distracted. So, my focus on this episode is really just looking at some different avenues and things that, people would try to wait for. And, I'm telling you, don't wait to get your faith right. Whatever that faith is, I am a believer a follower of Jesus Christ. And I believe he is my Lord and Savior. And people, if you listen to this episode, that's the case. But whatever your faith is, get it right. Whatever you believe in, get that in order. Don't wait. Fitness. And this is not, I'm not doing this in order, because, faith, family, and fitness, those are three areas that I really like to focus on. And I'm very passionate about. But with family, I said fitness, but I'm going to go ahead and go to family so I can be in a good order. But with family, don't, and I would say family and relationships with friends, that like people that you care and love. Don't wait, because you never know what will happen. You never know, the things that will come about, things that happen, transitions, different things happen. And, I've seen it, experienced it last year, where people that you may have closed out with at the end of the year, they may not make it over, or they barely make it over into the new year. So, and you want to try to fix any of those relationships that you care about. Or at least try to make peace. Sometimes you never will go back to where it was. Sometimes it may just be those relationships where they're seasonal, but you felt like you needed some level of closure, and you get that closure, but get them right. Family, definitely, and I say family, and I know people will say, well, sometimes it's just better to let family go. And you can't force relationships. You can't force things. But if like, if it's in your heart, and this is what I always like to say, if it's in your heart to make certain things right, make them right. Why wait? What are you waiting for? You don't have to wait to get things right. Now, I remember seeing some social media posts that discuss, or it was like a social media meme where I think the person was basically like, if I hurt or harmed anyone or did anything, in this year, then forgive me. I want to go into next year with a clear mind. And that's really, or with a clean mind or clear mind, or, in a good standing. I don't want to have any grudges with anybody. And, I see that, and I see it shared a lot of times, but do people really do that? And I think it's healthy. It's definitely healthy to do. You want to get that done now, before it even gets to that point. December, we're basically here now. It's really time for us to start focusing on, the next phase. Where do we need to finish out? Well, you can close out this year with still accomplishing a lot of that stuff. You got 31 days in December. There's still a lot of time, and a lot of things can happen in 31 days. You can build consistency in your prayer life in 31 days. If you just take it day by day, build that up, because really my intent is to say, let's start the year already hitting the ground running. You don't want to get to the place of, I'm going to wait till the calendar year flips. Then, January, my mind is going to be focused on this new me, this new way of living. Don't wait. Start now. Go ahead and build it up. We talk about fitness. And I think I mentioned this before, but when do you see most of your workout facilities, gyms? When do you see them most packed? at the beginning of the year, because everybody's on this New Year's resolution thing, and I think it's just more about, instead of resolutions and all that good stuff, it's about lifestyle. It's about lifestyles. It's about relationships. And that's what 2023 should be about. But you finish 2022 with establishing those things, going ahead, getting those relationships in the right place, your relationship with God, your relationship with the people that you love and you want to build with. And then, what lifestyle changes do you know you need to make? Your vision board. You can start a vision board now. I've worked in corporate America for a long time. And the one thing that I know is that we don't wait until January of the new year to start. If your fiscal year starts in January, you don't wait till January to start planning on what you're going to do or start, what you're going to do for the next year. You do that, a quarter, third quarter, you already start the planning process. Fourth quarter, you've got kind of everything hammered out so that, when January hits, and even when the fourth quarter, once you have everything going, you can actually start utilizing your budget for the new year in that fourth quarter. If you've got the budget approved, you can go ahead and start borrowing against it. So you can hit the ground running. I've been in positions where I've hired people at the end of the year to start at the beginning of the new year. And so that's powerful, because if you put that in context with, building and starting in now, don't wait until next year, start now. Start now before the calendar year flips. Set your goals. Go ahead and get it going. A lot of times people will wait until the new year. I'm going to do my vision board. No, you do your vision board now. If you did a vision board for this current year and you see that there's things that are still not there, don't take them down, because what things can still happen within this next 31 days. But go ahead and start working on what you're believing for and things that you want to accomplish in the next year. I'm sitting here in my office and I'm looking at my current vision board, and there's things on there that have happened, and there's things on there that I know that haven't come to pass as of yet, but I'm still believing, I'm still looking at those things, and I'm like, it's going to happen. So we keep pushing. Just because you didn't meet the goal this year, or you didn't get those things didn't manifest at this point in time, doesn't mean that it won't happen. Some of it is because of our lack of planning, our lack of really writing down, not only, making the vision board, but, writing down what are those things that we know we can do to accomplish those things, to accomplish the vision that we have, or the things that we put on the board. Because it's one thing to have faith for it, and you do need to believe, but there's some actionable items that we can do to get to that point. So, again, not waiting until the next year. My wife and I, we were having a discussion with our kids about, just changes that we want to make in our home, and especially with our daughter. She wants to rearrange her room and, paint it and just give it a new feel. She wants to sort of just change it because, she's been feeling like, I need to change some things around. And we're like, okay, we don't need to wait until next year. My wife, KK, she said, she was like, a new year and, new year, new you. And, we were like, but we don't have to wait till then. We can start that now, and have it done. So when the new year is there, we're already ahead of the game, so we're going to start going through that process. But again, it's not about waiting, because the waiting game, again, if you're waiting on God, and, and God is telling you to be patient. And again, that's if you have, if you have that relationship, but if you don't, start now. A lot of us have gotten in trouble because we try to get ahead of God, and that always gets us in trouble. And I say us because I definitely do it. I can be impatient with things, and that is where I've had to learn and grow, even in this year, even in dealing with some of the things that, I've been believing for, some of the things that, have come up in my life that I didn't necessarily, I didn't expect them to happen. And for me being impatient, I've tried to see if I can, force the situation, to force conversations or force the situation. And I just had to step back and say, you know what, God, I'm giving it to you. And just I ask for wisdom and guidance so that I can make the right choices or walk the right path and do the right thing to be positioned where and when I need to be positioned. So, and that's been one of the transitional things. But I realized that this year, and it's something that I'm definitely continuing to take into this new calendar year, and I've already started it. So, for me, it's really just identifying those things. What are those relationships that I need to make right or improve upon? And I'm starting with one, obviously my relationship with God, two, my wife and my kids. I started within my house, within the home that I stay in with the people that I live with. I think it's important because, I look at my kids, our kids, and they're growing. They're changing, they're evolving every day. Having a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 12-year-old, they're very smart. And, there's some things that I just didn't realize, or I didn't realize, but I lost track of, I just lost track of those things, and what's important about my kids. They're not robots. They're humans. They have feelings. And, sometimes I guess I'm acting like how I used to think my parents treated me. Just like, they didn't understand this generation. And, they would listen to me, but we just had that, the Fresh Prince Fresh Prince song, Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince, parents just don't understand. That was kind of how we rolled. They just don't get it. They're old. They don't understand this generation. And I've heard my daughter, I've heard all three of my kids use that. You guys just don't understand us. This generation is different. And KK and I would sit there and be like, whatever, it ain't about being different, but we got to step back and realize some things. So again, there's work that I'm doing within my family. And if you don't have kids, again, whoever is close to you, if you know there's some things that you have to do to be better. But the first thing is to get right yourself. Get yourself, your relationship, with Christ together. Get your relationship with yourself together. What do you need? One of the things that I've really been on a journey of, as we round out this calendar year and move into the next year, is self-care for me. We've had conversations with our kids about really protecting our mental health and improving our mental health. We've all dealt with things, and we all deal with things differently. There was times where with our kids where we would use the word sensitive and say, you're too sensitive. Why are you so sensitive? We'll say kids these days are just so sensitive, but I had I guess you can call it a revelation or a realization that it's not about this generation is more sensitive. I had to really think about something, and we were taught this in a parenting kind of a parenting workshop class we had at church one time, and the facilitator told us that, she was explaining about how kids' brain development and different things, and even at teenagers and even in their late teens and early 20s, there's still brain development is happening. And through explaining the biological development of the brain, she was helping to explain some of the mental aspects and why, we see our kids physically as being bigger, and, there's expectation that they're physically bigger, but we still have to understand that there's a big level of maturity that still has to take place. So for us, it was, it was eye-opening then, but then I kind of got recalled to it even as recently as the past couple of weeks. It's like, we have to realize this generation is different, and it's not different in a bad way necessarily. They're just different. our generation was raised differently. I mean, we've said it before, our generation, I say I was born in 78. So, if you can relate to that or somewhere around that, you know what I'm talking about. But we didn't, unless your parents worked in, the medical health field, unless they were, psychologists or psychiatrists or things like that, counselors, you really didn't have a lot of exposure, especially in the Black community. A lot of exposure to just good mental health. If you had emotional things, you're like, no, especially, boys, you're too emotional. Boys don't show emotion. Boys don't cry. Boys don't do this. If you went to a psychologist or counselor or something, you were considered crazy. Oh, you got to go to a counselor. There's something wrong with you. Something wrong with your brain. You crazy. And it's like, but we've seen over the past, especially the past couple years, that it's so important to get, have your mental health checked. But it's also important that, we have to, as adults, we have to also protect ourselves and protect our kids' mental health. And not worried about the cost of it, but understanding what it can cost you if you don't do it. So, that's something that we really are promoting within our family, is making sure, we my kids, for the most part have done a lot with athletics. We pay for training. I think about all the training we've paid for, the travel we pay for, travel basketball. We look at all those things that we spent money on, gear and all those things for them to go out there and play and to be physically the best. My wife and I spent a lot of money on gym equipment in the house, gym memberships, stuff like that. Certain meal plans. We spent a lot of money to physically get ourselves right, but we don't view, or we haven't viewed the mental development of or mental training or just anything around mental health. We don't look at that as a needed expense, and so that's changed, recently, and we're working on making sure that all of us get it, whether you have a problem or not. I'm learning more and more that it's good to just have somebody to help coach you, to help you, look at your thoughts and help you navigate through things. And I think it's important. I tell my wife that, if you think about this generation with technology and the way things can go viral so fast, it's amazing what our kids get exposed to. So I know people are like, well, that's true, but how is this all relating to relationships or getting things right? Don't wait until 2023 to say, I'm going to wait till my health insurance switches over to this or that before I start. No, don't wait. Do what you got to do. You would rather do it the right way and get it done now than to wait. That stuff can always be readjusted, or, and especially depending on, you may have a counselor that doesn't even take insurance. So, get with the right person, whatever it is that you need, get with the right specialist, whether it's, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. Just get in the right position. Get started, figure out what it is that you desire, what it is that you may be lacking, and really start looking into those things now. Set a plan. If you don't have the budget for it, you don't have the money for certain things that you want to do, whether it's health or, mental or, just build, even with the relationships, figuring out who are the people that I need to really focus on. What are the areas I need to focus on in my life physically? What are the things that I seem to be challenged with mentally? Start really taking some inventory of where you are, and really use those things to develop a plan around how to better yourself. Because there's a new norm that's coming out all the time. Everything is new now. I've seen it in the workforce. I've experienced it just since COVID has happened, and being fully remote and, adjusting to some of those terms of, people figuring out, they're figuring out more about themselves, or, they're finding out that they're really having a hard time adjusting to some of these new norms where a lot of companies are remote. I can say it for myself. I like the idea. I like the flexibility. I like to be able to, be here when my kids get home, be able to pick them up. But in terms of the people who I work with, this is the first place that I've ever worked at where I never met a person, whether it's interviewing or, I was hiring, either my interview to come into the company or interviewing people to hire to be on my team. My coworkers, just people that I work with, I didn't get a chance to meet a lot of them until about a year and a half into my job. So, that in itself is crazy. I'm used to having that kind of interaction with people in person. So I didn't realize how much it impacted me. And even from our company's perspective, we're trying to change the culture because it's been a big shift. And, there are things that, you talk about people staying engaged. That is one of the things that has been challenging. And we saw that with our kids when they had to sit out. So they didn't go to school for that time period that they were out. That was a big deal, especially for young people. And if they're, if you have young folks, or just not even young folks, there's anybody that's sociable, to tell them they have to be locked in the house, and they can't go out, or there's limited things that they can do, limiting their sports, or, just the things that they were used to doing, things that just didn't take, that you took for granted before. It was a crazy time. So, going into this year, this new calendar year, it's really the focus on those areas, your faith, family, and fitness. And fitness is everything from the physical to the mental. It's just important. It's important for us to get into that mindset for this coming year. I look on the news too much. Well, I don't watch the news, but I guess social media is the new news outlet, because there's so many things that pops up. I didn't like watching the news as a kid because there was so many negative things that were talked about on there. And it just gets, it's just exponentially greater with social media. And that's why I think our kids are struggling so much, because they're seeing so many things almost real time, whether it's violence, whether it's, things that are over sexualized, whether it's, things that they're just not prepared for, but, it's right in front of them. And it's hard to filter that. A lot of that stuff is hard to filter. So, when you were young, when the kids were younger, you were always worried about, when you wanted them to believe in Santa Claus, you're like, I hope nobody tells them about this. I remember my now 12-year-old, he knew about it a long time ago. I remember he even looked up online to say, is there really a Santa Claus? And, of course, no, there's not, but he wasn't crushed by it. He knew it. He was like, yeah, somebody at school told me, and I went and looked it up online. He Googled it. So, and it was a good thing because, he needed to know the truth. It was just interesting because, again, some of those childhood things that, really keeps our kids innocent in a way, just to keep them having an imagination, I would say. And I think that's something that really is missing today. There's so much reality around our children and even around us where imagination really isn't, most people don't have an imagination. They're not as creative with certain things because they're always faced with not being able to escape to a place where they can have where they can use their imagination or have an outlet to, to actively, whether it's through arts or, sports or things like that. Like some of them just don't have the time, or they just don't have those outlets. And then our schools are changing where a lot of that stuff is being cut out. So, our kids don't have the outlets. That's why I think it's important to have those conversations, build those relationships inside your house. If you have children of any age, get those relationships right. get those relationships right, your relationship with God right. Focus on your health, physical and mental. And I think just focusing on that, focusing what's important. And for me and my family, that is where we're really focusing on the end of the year for this year. This month of December, we just started. I mean, we kind of kicked things off this past week. We went out to dinner. We made kind of a appeal to them that kind of, apologize for not really focusing or giving them enough attention on their mental health, and just making sure that we're available to them for that. Because I think that's important, and not just for them, because KK and I had conversations about our own mental health, and making sure that not only are we trying to get ourselves in a better place, but supporting each other better. Don't get me wrong, it's not like we've been walking around here just, emotionally abusing each other, but you get caught up, especially as for KK and I and our age group being the adults and, coming up in a different era. Again, mental health wasn't something that we cared about, but our kids are definitely seeing it. And then we're seeing some of the remnants of why we should have had it. There's experiences that my wife and I have gone through as kids and, as teenagers, adolescents, teenagers. And, we just didn't have, we didn't have any, we're getting understanding, or things are starting to hit us a little differently. And there are so many other people who've had experiences where it's like, I wish I would have had some level of counseling back then. But, again, I'm thankful that God has kept us, and I'm able to sit here and talk to you all about this, and just what we're focused on for this upcoming year. And I'm, again, like I said at the beginning, this is therapeutic for myself, to talk through these things. So I'm hoping I'm helping others. But that's really the focus of this. That's really what I wanted to touch upon. Don't wait. 2022, I think a lot of people will say 2022 has been difficult. If you look at things from the financial markets, if you are an investor, and we've talked about that on episodes about investing in stocks and all these other things, and you see the stock market has been crazy. It's been down. We're in a downturn. It's a bear market. I read a stat that said typically a bull market will last for about 3.8 months. A bear market will last for 1.2 months. And if you don't know what a bear or bull market is, definitely look it up. So I think I said that the right way. But yeah, a bull market lasts longer. So if I said it wrong, I'll correct myself. A bull market lasts for 3.8 years. A bear market lasts for 1.2 years. So, and a bull market means that, stocks are gaining, you're making money, where a bear market, money is being lost. And if you know anything about stock markets, you can make money either way, whether stock goes up or down, you can make money off of that. But for long-term investors, that is, something that you never want to see a bear market, because that means most of the time they're losing. And there are other ways financially that you could curve some of that. If you really look at creating a diverse portfolio, for those that have 401k or just invest in stocks and things like that, there's other things that you can look at. If you want to know more about it, hit me up. You can email me at rickylthomasjr@gmail.com. Or you can email the Airflow Podcast email at airflowpodcast@gmail.com. We can set up a time to, do a consultation, financial need analysis, and we can look into that. But, the overall mindset, even from the financial sector is, people are looking at hearing recessions. You see the finance rates, for housing is gone up. We've seen 7%. There's talks of potentially, 8%. If they can't slow down inflation. So, you see these mortgage rates rising, you see the price of everything going up. We've seen it in the grocery stores, and then it creates this fear, this panic. But it's interesting because even with all of that, there's still so many jobs available. So it's interesting, because the workforce has been greatly reduced. I've seen it where fast food places, or restaurants even, they can't even stay open their normal hours that they would like to, because they don't have the employees the staff to really make it work, or they only have enough people to work the drive-through. So they close the dining part of the dining room part of the restaurant. They close that, or fast food place. They close that early so that they can have the staff focused on just taking care of the drive-throughs. And it's crazy. I've talked to people about that in the restaurants, just talk, or in fast food places. And I'll just ask them about it, like, hey, what's going on? You guys don't seem to have the inside open. And they were just like, yeah, we're having some trouble keeping people, or just getting people who want to work, or be consistent with work. So when I say things have changed, especially with a lot of brick and mortars, that is what you see. There's been an uptick on Facebook creations, Facebook businesses, people trying to, or people doing TikToks, Instagram accounts, all these things, because there's this need to go viral. And there's all kind of things about algorithms and how all that works. And I'm not going to get into all that, but there's a shift in the workforce, where everybody wants to do things virtually. Nobody wants to get out and meet people through traditional means, or work traditional jobs. And so you've seen companies either shut down or switch to more of an online ecosystem for their company, whether they sell goods or things like that. So it's been an interesting turn. And this is why, again, the economy is going down. Jobs are available. People don't want to work jobs. Some people do, some people don't. Then you still have underpaid, people who are getting underpaid like teachers. And so there's just a lot of things going on from the economy standpoint to, economy that includes the housing market, inflation, all that stuff. You hear about churches, having conversations about just seeing churches either shut down, or seeing a huge decrease in membership. The pandemic, and I say the pandemic, there's just been a lot of people that have been exposed to different things, or, people who were kind of on their 1 foot in, 1 foot out of leaving, particular church, or just leaving the church altogether. And it may not be related specifically to the church, or the pastor. Some of it is, I've seen it on both sides. So, you see people are questioning their spirituality. There's so many things, politics. I mean, there's so many crazy, I say unusual, but some of this stuff, if you read the Bible and you kind of understand this is, you've always heard the last days. Well, I don't know. Again, it could be 100 years from now. They've been saying last days for a long time, but we've seen this written before. But while I'm here, and I tell my kids that, I tell my wife that, and anybody who listens, while I'm here, I'm going to be the best version of me that I can. My past mistakes, I'm going to continue to learn and grow, and hopefully I'll be able to exercise some of those things, really want to exercise some of those things that I've done before, that were wrong, and try to right my wrongs, and, just continue to be the best version of me that I can be, continue to fulfill, walk towards my purpose of why I'm here, why God created me. And, I'm going to make the best of it. I'm not trying to be just a survivor. We weren't created to just survive. We were created to live. And that's really what, I continue to preach to my kids, enjoy life, enjoy the time we have together, enjoy the time you have, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, enjoy, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have things that don't make sense, but enjoy it. My son, he's a junior in high school, and, he's just like, he said, I'm really not looking forward to going to college. And, he's like, and I think it's just, the fear of growing up. And I told him, I said, well, that's why I want you to make sure you enjoy high school. This is your third year, and you're a junior now. So, this year it's almost this school year is halfway over now. They got a couple more weeks and they're out on Christmas break and come back, and it's a new semester, the last semester of the year, and his junior year is up. So, I'm like, enjoy this time, enjoy the people that you have that you consider friends, and build those relationships. Enjoy the teachers, the environment, because college is going to be a different experience, and you'll have new people that you'll come around, but you'll always be able to go back to those strong relationships you've built. It's the same way with all of us. What are those relationships that we built in the past that we really want to sort of foster and develop and grow, or, reacclimate ourselves together? Start working on that. Because again, it's going to be important for us. I can't imagine, going into next year or having next year be the same way as this year. It's all about growth. It's all about forward movement. There will be challenges. There will be times when we fall down, but, focus on the things that's important. Credit, we talk about getting your finances together. I mentioned, faith, faith, family, fitness, but finances, get your money right. Start now. Don't wait I'm going to wait till the end of the year. I'm going to wait till I get my taxes back and I'm going to pay all this stuff out. I'm trying to have this big Christmas. Look, after the pandemic happened, I know a lot of people just said, I don't care about, what people say about Christmas and this, that, and the other. I want to have some happiness and joy. And it sounds good. But when you start getting those credit card bills and credit card statements in the mail, and you start seeing that you've run up so much money, and now you've got to pay all this debt out, or, that tax refund that you may or may not get, or hoping that you get some kind of stimulus or this or that. I'll use that to pay these credit card bills. I use my tax refund. If you get a bonus in your job, I'll use my bonus. And you live the last month of the year trying to bring happiness to yourself, and then you spend the first part of the next year trying to keep yourself out of debt so you don't have to play catch up the rest of the year, and then you're stressed out financially. So, be smart. That's all I'm going to say is be smart. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy yourself. I know people want to say I work hard, I deserve this or I deserve that. Your budget, what you can, hopefully what you can spend and what you can't spend. Don't go into depression to start off a new calendar year because you were trying to satisfy some need or buy things that are not going to bring you the true satisfaction that you look for. If you're going to spend some money, spend something, invest money. Make sure that you have assets. Again, I'm not telling you don't do anything, that makes you happy. You want to buy your kid that new video game system. Okay. But you got to know what you can spend. If you got to put it on credit and say, I'll pay it off, and, I'll pay it off when this comes and that comes, you're setting yourself up, because we all know there's always something that's going to come up. There's always something else that comes up. You put off this, which credit will give you, unless you have the means to pay it off after it cycles, don't do it. If you're not disciplined to do that, don't do it. And what I mean by discipline, if you're not disciplined to put something on a credit card and pay it off within a certain time frame, sometimes they give you 0% on certain things for a certain time period, so you don't have to worry about paying interest. And there's different credit tips that you can use. Google them. I'll just say, make sure you're not extending out the bill too much, because now you're paying interest on that thing that you bought. If you don't sit up here, again, trying to buy kids a bunch of stuff that, they're not going to play with for a long time. And we did it. We did it for years. We tried to have these huge Christmases with, a million boxes under the tree. And it was like after a few weeks, especially when they were playing with toys, after a few weeks, they were back playing with the old toys they were using before. They'll pull out the new one every now and then, especially if you mention it. But, it was always an interesting, finding for us. Like we spent all this money and they may only play with one thing, but we bought all this stuff. We didn't go into debt doing it necessarily, but we did it. But don't go into using material things to bring you happiness either. Some people go, I'm gonna buy this car because I'm just feeling down. I need to buy this car. And you're signing yourself up for 7, 8, shoot, I don't even know if they may be going past 8 years now for financing the car. You're locked yourself into something. You got this new car and you're paying this note that you really wasn't expecting to pay just to say this thing brought happiness. Again, you got to figure out, do you want joy or do you want happiness? 2023, I'm looking for joy. Starting now, I'm looking for joy because happiness is definitely temporary. For me, it's about joy. It's about finding that eternal and internal joy that things just won't give you. I'm all for having money. You guys know that. I'm all about, making sure that, financially you're set because I like the options it gives you. The flexibility having money gives you, the freedom it gives you, right? Access to things. But my life is not going to be based off, my joy is not going to be based off of how much is in my bank account. It's going to be knowing that, I'm doing the things that I'm called to do. When I make a mistake, I learn from those mistakes. If I wrong somebody, I do my part to make it right. And I learn to just live and love life for what it is. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And for some people, they don't know what that purpose is. And that's okay. But just know, if I'm still walking, if I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm thankful. May not feel like getting up, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have another chance. That's always my prayer. When I get up in the morning, I just thank you for a new day of grace and mercy. But I thank you for a new day of walking, being able to walk out and walk in my purpose. And that I'm, the simple stuff. I can see, I can breathe, I can hear, I can walk, I can talk. I can use my limbs. Maybe a little sore. Again, may not feel like it, but it's important for me. So I hope this was encouraging for everybody. As I sit here, I just think about, everything that has gone on in my life and that I read about and I see. And it's just like, there's still so much greatness that we can do. And that's what, when we go back to why I started this podcast and what I'm hoping listeners get is that understanding, what it means to be an heir. To be an heir is also to be a representative of God's kingdom. So you're not just an heir to a blessing, or blessings that comes with saying that you are a child of God. You are a kingdom citizen. Everybody talks about that, but it's the responsibility. It's the reflection. It's like we are with our, what my parents used to tell me and what I tell my kids. When you go somewhere, you're a reflection of me. You're an individual, but you're a reflection of me. So think about that. We are reflections of Christ. We are heirs. And we need to, one of the things is just making sure that we don't forget that. We work every day to be the best that we can be. Not the best that somebody else can be, but the best you can be. Focus on building you, building for your family, and, just being the best you that nobody can beat. Nobody can beat you being you. I've heard people use the word being authentic. And the only way to be authentic is first know who you are, know whose you are. And that's what being an heir is about. Knowing who you are and whose you are. And if you know that, then that's where you start the process of one, understanding, more about you internally, but understanding whose you are internally and eternally, and then being able to find that joy of knowing that I'm here. And I'm here for a reason. I'm here to be who God has created me to be. And that is an heir. And as an heir, as I always say, we were created to flow. So I just thank everybody for taking some time to listen to me. Again, I'm your host, Ricky Thomas. I pray that you guys have a great week, and we'll be back again soon. Flow on.